which is precisely why reducing One More Light to some, cynical genre pivot entirely misses the architectural brilliance of what they built. I mean, by actively dismantling that heavy, angst-ridden hard rock scaffolding of their past, they didn't just chase a pop trend. They fundamentally relocated their aesthetic center to serve a profoundly vulnerable narrative, particularly on track 8, Halfway Right.
Right. And hear me out, they just hit a terrifying midlife crisis and desperately try to stay relevant.
Oh, that is such a reductive...
It is not reductive. Look, I fully acknowledge the harrowing nature of the source material here. Driving blacked out on a dirt road, waking up with no memory, that is visceral trauma. But the execution? They took bleeding human pain and fed it straight into a corporate spreadsheet. They turned it into Auditory Beige.
I mean, I really have to push back on Auditory Beige, because if you look at their methodology, it was entirely inverted for this album. They adopted this strict Songwriter First philosophy.
Which sounds phenomenal in a press release.
No, it was highly practical. Instead of starting with aggressive guitar riffs and just shoehorning a vocal melody on top, they sat with the concepts. They sat with the lyrics first. They centered the art on Chester Bennington's 2015 Relapse. I mean, the song is a literal masterclass in capturing what addiction specialists call disease thinking.
Disease thinking. Right, this psychological illusion of control.
Exactly. It's that deep cognitive dissonance where an actively spiraling addict convinces themselves they are successfully hiding their dependency. Translating that agonizing mental state into modern soundscapes is a staggering artistic ambition.
Sure, the ambition is staggering, but the product is a sanitized for your protection, assembly line track. When they tried to map this raw pain onto their little Songwriter First experiment, they hit what they politely called structural issues in the studio. The math just wasn't working.
Well, because the initial melody felt forced against the instrumentation. Yes.
Right. So what do you do when you hit friction while exploring your deepest trauma? You dig into the ugliness. You let it sound broken. But no, they outsourced it. They brought in Ross Golan, a literal pop hitmaker, to fix the math.
I think fixing the math is just a colloquialism for adjusting the key of the song.
Adjusting the key downward so the singer doesn't have to strain. Like if you have a rock song where the vocalist is pushing the absolute top of their physical register, it sounds desperate. You hear the physical struggle, which matches the lyrical struggle. But they shifted the key to perfectly optimize the notes for standard pop sensibilities. They mathematically smoothed out the trauma so it behaves politely.
See, you are assuming that physical strain is the only valid ontological signifier for psychological pain, which is frankly archaic. It is a 150 beat per minute synth pop track, yes, but that bright, almost Disney-like facade is a brilliant dialectical relationship with the darkness of the lyrics.
A dialectical relationship. Wow, you really buy that?
Yes, because it is deliberate engineering. It represents the sound of hope, or more accurately, it mimics the heavily engineered, agonizingly cheerful fake smile that a severely depressed person wears just to navigate the world.
Okay, let's talk about that deliberate engineering, because they didn't organically stumble into this fake smile. They hired Manny Marroquin at Larrabee Studios to mix it. You don't hire a legendary mainstream hip-hop and pop mixer to get a nuanced exploration of Relapse. You hire him to secure incredibly tight, radio-friendly low-end and absolute unthreatening clarity.
High production values do not negate emotional truth.
They do when you use heavy dynamic range compression to surgically level out every erratic spike of human emotion. I mean, a raw vocal take of someone in distress has massive, unpredictable peaks and valleys, but they squashed the peaks, pulled up the valleys, and narrowed the whole track into this perfectly consistent, algorithm-friendly volume band. It is totally scrubbed of grit.
I strongly disagree. I think you're completely ignoring the egoless restraint of the band members. Just look at the instrumental omissions. Brad Delson literally muted his own acoustic guitars in the final mix because they were fighting the vocals.
Egoless restraint? It was acoustic cowardice. They stripped out the entire rhythmic pulse of the band.
He subordinated his instrument to serve the texture. He left these gorgeous atmospheric synthesizer pads to create an ambient fog, leaving the vocal track completely exposed. And Bennington consciously chose not to scream. He abandoned his safety net, his most famous aesthetic tool, to prove his soulful complexity.
No, please, you cannot praise the exposed, soulful complexity of a vocal track that has been subjected to surgical pitch correction.
Pitch correction is standard industry practice across all genres.
Not to this degree. Every edge is rounded off perfectly, every note snaps flawlessly to the grid, and the rhythm is heavily quantized too. They mathematically snapped every beat onto a digital grid, eliminating any microscopic human imperfection. They replaced the unpredictable danger of a live band with the safe dental office acoustics of a computer program.
The danger isn't in the acoustic grit. The danger is in the poetry. They abandoned broad rock metaphors for highly specific spatial signifiers. Dead-end kids in abandoned houses. The chorus literally states, "I don't lose, I don't win. If I'm wrong, then I'm halfway right." That is the unwinnable logic of addiction. Mike Shinoda was correct when he said the real risk was leaving their heavy metal safe zone.
That is not risk. True vulnerability is risk. Sending your meticulously quantized audio stems to sterling sound so they can be vacuum sealed and mass-produced is a corporate transaction.
But you are overly fixated on the industrial mechanics. You are missing the profound chronological realization happening in the text. This is a 41-year-old man, a global success, realizing his demons never leave. He could end up back on that dirt road at any moment. It is a beautifully imperfect confession wrapped in this pristine package.
It is an overproduced tragedy. Yes, the man is singing about losing control to addiction, but the real loss of control happened at the mixing desk. Genuine human suffering was pitched, quantized, and packaged to be sold as pleasant background noise for a generation that frankly doesn't know the difference.